The blend tool in Illustrator allows you to blend two or more objects together to create visually appealing artwork for use in any number of scenarios. This tool is easy to use and provides a lot of options as well. Now, I'm beginning this video with the blend.ai file already open on my computer. And what I've done here is I've just created an artboard with two basic shapes, one a little bit smaller than the other. And what I want to do is demonstrate how we can use the blend tool to blend these two objects together and show you some of the options that are available. So I'm going to go ahead and select both of these items. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to our Tools panel, and I'm going to select the Blend tool. And the way that you use this tool is you simply click on one object, and then you click on the other object, and the Blend tool is going to blend them together. Now, if you wanted to, you could also draw another object up here. And still, using the Blend tool, you can click on one object and click on another to continue that blend in a couple of different ways. You can just keep blending from one object to the other. Now, the cool thing about this is that if I come up here, use my direct selection tool, and I click on one shape and change the color. I'm going to go ahead and change the color of this to something else, maybe a light blue here. You'll see that it's blending the two together. Now, you'll notice we have a slightly different appearance here, and that's because of the blending option that's chosen. So let's take a closer look at that. I'm going to go ahead and grab my selection tool again. I'm going to click on the blend, and I'm going to go to the object menu under blend, and I'm going to choose blend options. And you can see that the spacing by default is set to smooth color. And that's why this first portion of the blend didn't really change too much because the color was the same. But here, because there was a difference in color, we saw a much different transition. Now, what we could do is we could turn our preview on, and if we change this to, say, specified steps, we can control the number of steps that are applied to each blend segment. So you can reduce those. I'm just using the up and down arrow keys on my keyboard to control the distance and the number of steps that are applied. And then you can also go to specified distance and control the exact distance between the objects. So I'm going to type 1 inch in here, and you can see that it's now applying 1 inch between the center of each object. Now, what we can also do, I'll go ahead and click OK, and I'm going to go ahead and revert to my saved version. So let's go to File and choose Revert. Go ahead and revert that. Let's recreate this blend. So I'm going to select these two objects, and we'll use our Blend tool, click, and there is our blend. Now, the other thing that's really powerful when using the blend tool is you can use a combination of additional options. So one of the things we can do is we can reshape what's called the spine, or the path that the blend is following. So with that blend path selected, I can go to my pencil tool, and if I click on the starting point and I drag to kind of redraw this shape, you'll see that the spine gets adjusted to reflect that new path in which I drew. And you could keep doing this really as much as you want. If you want to kind of pull this out a little bit more and make this kind of fall down here, you can just keep reshaping that path. Now, if you want a little bit more control, what we could do is we could draw a new shape. So, for example, what if we grab the star tool? I'm going to draw a bigger shape here, just kind of position this in the middle. And I'm going to select that shape, and I'll shift-click on the blend so that they're both selected. And then I can go to the Object menu under Blend and choose Replace Spine. And when I do that, the stars are now following the space or the shape of that big star that I put in here. And we may want to go to Object, Blend Options, and try to adjust, maybe how we want this distorted or displaced. So maybe we'll put maybe a ½ inch in between, turn our preview on, and now you can see, the end result that we get. Now I'll just go ahead and cancel that, because you're not limited to these shapes either. If you wanted to, I could click on the line segment tool. I'm going to grab my spiral tool, I'm just going to draw a shape right here. Once again, select both items and go to Object Blend and choose Replace Spine. And now the stars are following this shape. So you have quite a bit of control that you can apply here. Isolation mode works with these, so if I double click, I can now click on one object and I can say change the color if I want to. Again, this is now applying our blend options, so we can adjust that accordingly. And then what you can also do is you can really have a lot of fun just experimenting with different and interesting shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pencil tool. And I'm just going to draw a couple of free-form shapes here. So there's one, and let's do another one like that. And I'm going to select both of these, set the fill to none. But the stroke, I'm going to go to my swatches panel. Maybe I'll just start by applying a basic gradient to the stroke, which we can do now inside of Illustrator. In my stroke panel, you can increase or decrease your stroke weight, and you can even open up your gradient panel. If I go to Window Gradient, you can choose how the gradient is applied to the stroke. So I'm going to leave the first option chosen, but I am going to click on one of these, and I'm just going to reverse this. I'm going to click on this button. So now we have one that's dark here and light on this end, and one that's the opposite. So what I'm going to do, I'll just close my gradient panel now. I'm going to select both of these. And another way we can make a blend is we can just go to the Object menu, go to Blend, and choose Make. And that's going to create a blend. Now what I'll do is go to Object Blend and go to Blend Options. And I'm going to turn on my preview, and I'm going to increase the specified number of steps. I'm just going to use the up arrow key on my keyboard until I get the look that I'm going for. So I'll go with something like that. Go ahead and click OK. And you can see we have a very interesting, I'll just click off of it so you can see this, a very interesting shape or pattern. Now, where this gets really fun, I'm going to go ahead and grab my Direct Selection tool. What we can do is if you start grabbing some of these anchor points and start overlapping paths, you can really start to get a really neat and interesting three-dimensional look and feel to this. You may even want to grab your pen tool. That way you can add or remove anchor points as needed and make adjustments. So maybe I would pull this down, and you can just see that we can create a really neat ripple effect. We can change the color. We can make all types of adjustments. And you combine this with additional artwork. I might throw a rectangle on here and maybe just fill this with, say, black, and I'll send that to the back. And you can see now how you can get kind of a cool and interesting piece of artwork out of essentially just lines that you've blended together. So as you can see, this tool's limit is pretty much your imagination. I encourage you to experiment with this tool on your own to discover new and interesting effects for your own artwork.